On the weekend, it's time for everyone to rest after tiring days of work. Peter made plans to go fishing with his brothers and have an outdoor buffet party. But he was caught by his wife and made to clean up the entire house. He really is a pitiful husband. Peter thought to himself, his wife is really overbearing. Looking at this house, the grass and plants are everywhere, and it will take a lot of time to finish this job. To save money, his wife did not hire a gardener to clean up. If he doesn't finish by the end of the morning, Peter won't be able to join the party with his friends. This life makes him feel so suffocated. With such a huge workload, he will have to do it all by himself. Without any help from anyone, including his wife. Peter is complaining that if he could hire a gardener to come here, they would quickly complete this job with just a little pay. He starts walking around the house, going through all the corners behind it. The apple tree rows need to be cut straight up to avoid blocking the way. The front lawn needs to be cut short to the ground. The tree in front of the house has several branches growing randomly, which will have to be dealt with later. Let's get to work to be able to join your friends. If there were no help from machines and everything had to be done manually, it would take a lot of time. Peter went over to his neighbor's house and begged for their help. Luckily for him, his neighbor wasn't using their lawnmower today, so he was able to borrow it, along with a couple of rusty saw blades. The condition was that he had to treat his neighbor to a nice meal and drinks. Well, he had no choice but to accept, as there was no other way. Peter took the lawnmower to the back of his house and attached the chainsaw blade. Although he knew the blade was very dull, it was better than nothing. Otherwise, he would have to climb up a ladder and use a handsaw to cut each branch. He also equipped himself with safety goggles and a brown hat. Peter looked quite professional, like an experienced gardener. The apple trees were taller than the house, and without the help of this long chainsaw, he wouldn't be able to cut them down. He had to be very careful, as if the blade touched the roof, it would break immediately. If he broke it, he wouldn't know where to find the money to pay for it. Peter is having a hard time. This branch is too big, and the saw is too dull to cut it. He goes inside and comes back with his own wood cutting machine. It can handle large trees quickly and accurately. Peter hands the machine back and forth with his skilled hands, which he has honed through doing household chores for his wife after work. In no time, all the big branches have been cut down. They just need to be pulled out to be cleared. Some of the trees are tightly intertwined, making it difficult for Peter to remove them. Finally, he discovers the cause: a wild vine growing from the corner of the wall. He uses all his strength to pull it up and throw it outside. The longer this plant is left, the stronger its vines become. While working, he silently curses his wife, who is at home eating pizza and watching a movie without paying attention to him. After dealing with the dry tree trunks in the area, Peter continues to work hard. Then, he encounters a clothesline that he cannot cut, no matter how hard he tries to thread through it. He has to reluctantly lower it. His wife once asked him to make this clothesline, but she never hung any clothes on it. It was a waste of money and effort that Peter had put in. Since then, he has to calculate more specifically if he wants to do something. It took him nearly an hour to finish this area, cutting all the high branches. Peter looks like he's wielding a weapon while fighting against this garden. Move to the back of the house. There are many weeds covering almost the entire path. A steel cutting blade will have to be used. Each position requires a different scientific method. As he worked, he thought of his mother. Peter's mother was a piano artist. She always wanted him to be like her. So from a young age, she taught him to play the piano until his fingers were sore. Therefore, his hands are very flexible and skilled. Just the fact that he can mow the lawn without touching the concrete is enough to understand. However, his dream was to become a musician, to compose good music. But after getting married, his wife crushed that dream without mercy. Peter couldn't make a living composing music. Returning to work, he wore headphones while working. It helped him relax more and avoid the noise of the lawnmower. If someone looked at him, they would think he was an experienced gardener. In the US, if they organized an award for the best gardener of the year, Peter would certainly not hesitate to participate. Because he puts his heart into everything he does. He will surely win the first prize. Not only that, he is also a good husband. Peter always does what his wife asks, even if it means giving up on fun times with friends. It's wonderful. Next, he used a specialized scraper to pull all the branches he had cut in front of the house to the back. Peter would gather them into a large pile, making it easier to transport them to the dump. He worked tirelessly like a busy bee, being careful not to get pricked by the thorns on the branches. He pulled each pile of debris away one by one. Luckily, his camera almost fell to the ground, but he caught it just in time. He had saved up for it for a long time. Peter always used it to record his daily work. Next, he used a specialized rake to pull all the branches that had been cut in front of the house. Peter would gather them into a large pile. It was easier to transfer them to the dump. He worked tirelessly like a hard-working bee. The branches were full of thorns, so Peter was very careful when he pulled them. He pulled away one pile of trash at a time. Fortunately, the camera almost fell to the ground. This was a gift that he thought of for himself after a long period of saving. Peter always used it to record his daily tasks. According to the correct sequence he learned on YouTube, the next step was to use a grass cutter to cut close to the ground. Peter didn't need to borrow the machine because his father had saved up to buy it before. He had stored it for a long time, and it wasn't until today that he had the opportunity to use it. The machine made a crunchy sound, so it was definitely still in good condition. The entire grass under the ground was blown away quickly by his machine. However, there were a lot of rocks, and the machine would make them fly dangerously. He could easily get hurt, so Peter put on an extra layer of protection for his feet. After more than half a morning, his skills had improved very quickly. This was demonstrated in the way he turned the blade horizontally to trim the inside edges of the wall holes. However, if he lost his focus, he would be injured immediately. Behind the area for air conditioning, grass grows very slowly because it's all concrete. After a few basic paths, it has been cleaned up. Just need to sweep up the trash and this area is done. So the surroundings and the back of the house have been trimmed. Peter took his machine and walked toward the front of his house. Near the fence, the grass grows taller than his knees. In about 2 weeks, it could reach Peter's head. He looks very tired. This morning, his wife only gave him a few pieces of sandwich and half a glass of milk to eat. And doing manual labor like this makes him hungry quickly. That little tree took Peter a long time to uproot. If someone could bring him some food right now, it would be great. Looking at that pile of trash, if I were to move it alone, it would take me until tomorrow morning to finish. Peter begged his wife to hire a truck to transport the garbage. Seeing how hard he had been trying all morning, Peter's wife finally agreed. After struggling with the battlefield of garbage for a while, Peter finally managed to load it neatly onto the truck. We just need to handle the tree in front of the house and we're done. Peter quickly took out his saw to help. Look, it's beautiful, but those small branches sticking up make it look very unpleasant. This tree was planted by Peter's grandfather in the past. It's almost as old as his father. So while beautifying the tree, he was very careful and attentive. This tree is linked to Peter's childhood. When he was a child, he fell and broke his arm while climbing up to pick fruit. His father was very angry and planned to cut it down for firewood. But because the tree was planted by his grandfather, the whole family advised against it and helped it survive until now. Peter was so absorbed in his work that he didn't realize the sun was getting close to its peak. Here, Peter has diligently completed the task of cleaning his house. His wife allowed him to go out and hang out with friends. Our video ends here. Please be a wonderful husband like Peter. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to follow the next videos.